Yo! And welcome to Let's Make a RenegadeX Map. This map doesn't have a name yet. I've got a fair few ideas to what I actually want to do with this map. But I'm going to say this now, yeah? This series isn't about me making a map per se. It's more about showing you the steps to making a map. Even though I've almost done this in the past with the making of Volcano and the making of Canyon, there's a few steps I never shown, just because they were boring. So expect this series to get a bit boring here and there, because some parts you really need to know, other parts you probably already know. This first episode is going to be pretty boring if you've already played with the UDK, so yeah. Right now, yeah, we've just launched the internal testing, or we got a load of beta testers to test beta 4. But as we've done that, it's kind of crashed our website, so the launcher doesn't work for us just yet. So in the launcher, when you open up the new launcher, you'll have a new button right in the top right corner. Right in the top right? Yeah, right in the top right. Called Editor. Unfortunately, I can't open the editor to show you. I've already done half this series. I've recorded it, but then a couple of files got corrupted and my hard drive failed, and I'm not even going to go into it. I'm all peed off, so I'm doing this all again. I'll be making a map from scratch again because I wasn't really happy with the last one. So, even though you didn't get to see it. So, in here, I'd open that up and there'll be a little editor button. I don't exactly have that. So, well, I do have it, it's there. I can open it, but nothing actually happens because it needs to connect to the website. Which should be getting fixed with beta 4. I hope it does, because it's a bit of a pain in the ass because our website goes down a lot. So I've just made up this UDK shortcut. I'll show you how to do that quickly. I'm just going to open file location of here, go back one. I'm going to go to binaries. You can use 64-bit, but I suggest use 32-bit because the game actually runs in 32-bit. Even though I think you can run it in 64-bit now, I'm not 100% sure, but run 32-bit anyway, because you won't get you can get some problems with the 64-bit version. So we do that, and let's send to desktop. We have that. We don't need this anymore. Let's rename this UDK or Ren-x SDK. I already have one made, so I'm just going to delete this in a second. Then we're going to right click it, go to properties. In shortcut, right at the end of this little inverted comma, or double inverted comma, we're going to put a space and add editor. And hit apply. This is an argument. You can do lots of things with arguments. You can auto join servers and whatnot. I'm not going to be going through that today. I'm sure you can go Google it. So hit OK, double click that, and we should get a little splash screen with editor written on it. If it doesn't say editor, you did something wrong. So let me just get rid of that, as I don't need that now. Oops, no more. Right, I hate doing this. I hate starting new projects, but this is what we do. We get the splash screen. If you didn't get the splash screen, you did something wrong. It'll probably say beta 4 if you didn't get this splash screen. Just use the editor button in the launcher. It's much easier. So it might take a while because it may have to index a lot of stuff. Because the build we put out doesn't have anything indexed as such. It was basically built upon a brand new UDK. So loading packages. Hi, welcome to my desktop. This is my desktop. Yeah, it's a mess. Don't worry about it. I'm not gonna pretty to fire my desktop up just because. Okay, so when you get into the UDK or the Ren-x SDK, it is primarily the UDK used with Ren-x features. We get this welcome to UDK screen. I always untick this, but if you're new to UDK, I suggest you click on this video tutorial. It is extremely helpful. I mean, it's more helpful than what I'm going to give you. So click on that, you'll find some nice tutorials. Right. Okay. This is the boringest episode out of the lot until I get to materials. So, right. This episode is going to be about UI. Primarily what this is going to be about. So if you don't want to watch it, I'm sorry, you don't have to watch it. I don't really care. But this is for people that have no clue about the UDK. You'll get this window. This window here has everything in it. When I say everything, I really do mean everything. It has, well, let's show you what it has. Pick a number between rock and rock. Okay, rock. Type in rock. We have sounds of rocks. Sounds weird, but okay. Scroll down. We have meshes. A mesh is, well, first of all, a sound is a sound, and a mesh is a mesh. But a mesh is just a 3D object in space, or just a 3D object. So yeah, if you double click it, you can get into the editor. But we'll deal with this when we deal with that. Just because I typed in rock here means anything with the name rock will pop up. That means static meshes, sounds, materials, material instances, constant. But these two are practically the same thing, but very much different. We'll get into that later on. Some of this stuff is going to be very confusing. It's at the beginning, but once you realise what everything is and how it works, it's like a puzzle. It all just fits together. Animation sets, we won't be dealing with them. Material, static meshes, instances. Where are you? Particle systems. This is, well, you can't really see it at the moment. I don't know why. But it does stuff like noise and muzzle flashes and whatnot. Yeah, they have to be enabled. But yeah, you got like particles, like floating leaves, fire, the Tiberium smoke, wind, not wind, but wind animations, like dust and whatnot. Also textures. Most people get confused between textures and materials. Texture is a 2D image. A material is actually a shader. Again, we'll go through all this when we get there. This is just showing you this. It doesn't have just rocks, it has trees. If I could spell. If you don't want to see any of this crap, you can just click on static mesh and it'll just show you static meshes of trees or grass. Anything you want, really. There's this button called All Assets. Alright, this is a very important button. When you click it, it shows all assets of whatever's in the packages. Packages. Ren-x assets are primarily in UDK game, content, Renegade X, environments. Let's just maximize this, right? And everything in here is its own package. There are some limitations to packages. UDK starts freaking out if they're over 300 megabytes. So if you get a package over 300 megabytes, split up into two packages. So you make the one package like 280, and you can dump everything into the second package. So this stuff contains basically everything Renegade X. But notice when I click on a package, it only has a few things in. Now if I search for rock in here, it won't find anything because there are no rocks inside that package. So now if I type click all assets, it will show all assets of every package in the UDK. Again, very handy. I suggest you just type in all assets and just look through static meshes. It's a very, very good way to familiarize yourself with what assets we have, so you don't have to make them. What assets we... Whoops, what the hell is that? Go away. What assets would go well with others. Bear in mind, some of the assets have textures. You can change materials. Sorry, as I said, materials and textures people get confused with, including myself. Have materials which you can change on the fly when you put them in game or in the editor. Also, you might notice that some assets don't have collision. It says no collision model. That means if you walk up to it, you can pass through it. There are ways to fix this, but primarily you want to find stuff with collision. Like this here. This here doesn't have collision, but we can make it have collision with some magicry, which I'll be going through in another episode. But then you have stuff like this, which again has no collision. This should have collision. There you go, it has collision. So yeah, this here show collision, you can tell, and the fact it says it doesn't have no collision in here. So you just familiarize yourself with that. So this window doesn't just contain everything; it contains more stuff of everything. Primarily actor types. If we go to actor classes, we can get stuff like fog, lights, navigation, which is your AI paths. You can even do vehicle factories, so if a vehicle dies it will respawn. I'm not really a fan of using these in a CNC mode, but you can use them if you really like. You can even you can set it up through Kismet, which I may try and do to like have say if you capture a point you can get an extra vehicle or whatnot. So yeah, this contains everything. We'll be going through this stuff when we actually need it. This other stuff we're not really going to worry about, just because we don't need to. Go away. So yeah, that's that. That contains everything. We'll be going through everything. And now I've got to reset all this. Again, I have a second screen. I'm not going to be using a second screen because you cannot see it. And that is just so unfair to you. Right. So, when you get rid of that, it can be found here. Open up content browser. Sometimes it will be down here, so if you click on that, nothing happens, it's down here. Right. Basic navigation of the world. Right. Everything is done with a mouse. So if you left click, you can go forward, backwards, and swivel on the spot, left and right. If you right click, you can 360 around a spot. If you right and left click at the same time, you can pan up left and right, and scroll goes in and out. Middle scroll doesn't really do anything. That's about that. If you want to select something, you just click on it. If you want to select more than one thing, use Control. I suggest you get used to using control a lot, because control is the control key. Everything you do in the UDK consists of control. Alright, so that was an autosave. That will save you. We'll be going through that in another episode. But first off, so when you select something, you'll get X, Y, and Z, red, blue, and green. There are two versions of this. You have the world version, which you can find down here, X, Y, and Z. So let me just turn this. I'll show you that in a minute. But you also have a local version, which will find the X, Y, and Z of the asset you're actually on, which can be very handy, but there is one bug with it, and I'll show you that in a second. Right, so you may have seen me change to a different tool. Right, the tools are found up here. Primary selection tool, you can select things without them moving or worry of moving. Then you have the move tool, which if you select something else, it can move because it's just a pig like that. Rotation means you can rotate around X, Y, and Z. All these, I'm sorry. And then you have the scale tool. All these three or four tools here can be either world or local. Yeah, but you also have another tool, a fifth tool, that scales in only one direction. That can only be used in local. Okay, so down to the bug of local. If you go to rotation, let's find this corner. Let me just take that off for a second. Sorry, that off. Right. You see this corner isn't dipping through the world, yeah? Well, it's not actually going to dip through the world, but you can see that it's a lot further off the ground now, and I'm only moving one axis. The bug is, right, in local, when you're rotating, it does not rotate one axis. It rotates throughout all three axes. It's a bug. It's been a known bug for a very long time, and they just never fixed it. So when you're using rotation tool in local, be very careful, as it will mess up all other axes you're not working with. But that said, it's all good. When making a map, well, first off, let's think. Right, okay, when you're making a map, it's nice to use these pre-made maps. File, new level. You got afternoon, morning, midday, and night. It's very nice to use these. I'm not going to be using these myself because I need to show basically everything from scratch. But these are a nice place to start. I actually started X Mountain from afternoon, I think, or morning. I think it was a morning one I used. So yeah, let's go back to midday. Never save a package that isn't yours, because it will mess up the game. There will be big warnings everywhere. Well, we're gonna try and make it so you can't anyway. So it's all good. So when you're starting a map, I suggest you get rid of everything. You click delete. You can't delete that. I'll show you why in a second. Click delete. Click delete. Click delete. These are the only things you need. You need sky, the fog, and the light. The light. Thank you. Okay, so you have sky, fog, and light. You're asking, why is there a big red box in my screen? Well, if you press B, it goes. Right, if you press B again, it comes back. This is called a builder brush, or build brush, or just a brush. You can get many different types with these buttons over here. It's very handy for making indoor maps, but I suggest you don't really use CSG for very much because it's very, very, very hard to use. I'd say hard. It's a pain in the ass to use because it likes to break and it likes to artifact. But anyway, this is used for volumes and geometry, which we'll be going over both in a later episode. So when you ever see this in your map, don't worry about it. If you ever move it or whatnot, you can always come back to a base, and these can all these can also be changed. If you right click a cylinder with 8 sides, I'm going to say 32 sides, it's probably going to break, but yeah, there's a cylinder with 32 sides, and you can also make it hollow, so it has a hollow. Anything inside of this I'm not really going to call it a mesh or a net. It's not really a wireframe either. Well, it is technically a wireframe. Everything inside the wireframe is affected. But again, we'll be going over this in another episode. And that's about it. You also have these, which just unlit, lit, detailed, lit, light only. You didn't really need to mess with these unless you're getting really, really bad frame rates, or unless you can't see in dark areas. Oh yes. You also have a perspective view. This one's a 3D view. You also have a top-down view, which is top-down, bird's eye view. A front view, which is from the front, and a side view, which is from the side. And if you want to get really cocky, you can have all 4. Front, side perspective. So you can, this is very handy when you're doing like CSG and whatnot. But me personally, I always like just to have the one. So let's make a new level. Oops. And again, never save your stuff. Oh no, never save your stuff. Always save over. No, don't save over anything unless it's yours. Don't save. And from here, we actually get into the making of the map. So that will be episode 2. So yeah, thanks for watching. Shall see you in the next one. Ta-da.